is Stephanie Ward, and I live in the city of Lodi. I work with a group of volunteers that we do something called Trap, Neuter, Return, TNR. It's where we trap cats, get them fixed, and then release them back to where they are living. And on this particular street, we have done around 20 cats now. We have a few left. A couple laying here, one over there. They were all laying out on the porch yesterday. These little guys are... In order for us to be able to identify who has or has not been altered already, because we can't touch them, they slice off one little tip of the point of the ear. And that's kind of a nationally standard procedure for trap, neuter, return. And that's because when they're in the wild, we can't just go up and hold them and check to see if they're altered. So that's our way of being able to identify who has or has not been altered in a colony or in an area, where they're living out in the wild. Let's just say there's 10 cats and I can't touch any of them, but I can stand back and be like, okay, that one has the tipped ear, that one has the tipped ear, ooh, that one doesn't have a tipped ear, orange, long hair, and I know that's my target cat. If you leave even one kitty unaltered in a colony or in an area, a highly populated area with homeless cats, you can be right back to where you started within a year or two. I started this because I have this massive love and compassion in my heart for cats. I just adore them, and I just think it's morally wrong what we're doing to control overpopulation. And I think when there are other methods that can be used to control that, we should be doing that. Way down on South Stockton Street, and he had about 15-20 cats. And every year, babies, and every year he just couldn't take it anymore. They'd overrun his yard, and he'd trap up all he could, take him to the pound, have him killed. Well, my children go to the school right on the corner, so I kind of drive through a lot of these areas that are really overrun with kitties, and I would drive past his house and see just new cats constantly. So one day I just stopped by and knocked on his door, and I said, I noticed you have all these cats. I just wondered if you have any of them fixed or what you're doing about it. He's like, ah. And he tells me what he's been doing for the last 15 years, taking him to the pound, having him killed, but they just keep coming. So I spent about a year at Ken's house and got every single cat done. And a few months after we completed everything, I went and stopped by his house, and I said, well, how are things going, Ken? And he says, Stephanie, he says, this is just unbelievable to me. He said, for the first time in 15 years, it's manageable now. He says, I don't have the cats screaming, trying to find mates and mating and spraying and fighting. He says, it's, got my same Street alley, like big colonies, the South Stockton Street one, here at Rush Street. Here. Okay. Yeah. Ken's house, I probably did about 15 there, maybe 15 to 18 there. I took $3,000 worth of cats into the ACT clinic in 1 year, all at $30 a cat. So that should give you an idea of the numbers I've done. This is the trap I have. These are some little brown ones. They're a lot more expensive, but I love them. And what I do when I set a trap, we go into an area and you see where the cats are heavily laying, where the majority of the numbers are, and that's where you're going to set. And how this particular trap works is it's a 2-entry trap, and that's what I like about this one. So the back side opens, and you can just lift up. Okay. And I personally line it with newspaper. I think that the kitties don't always like walking on the wire, and so to give them a little bit of a flat surface to walk on, I think is a little better. I don't use a whole can of food. Like, I'll divide it into like 6 little portions, and you put your little can or your plate or your tin foil or whatever you use right there. Just don't impinge on the trip plate. You don't want it on top of that. Keep it way back here. Close this, make sure it's locked. You simultaneously lift these rings, bring the door up, and then there's a little crossbar here and here. You push this crossbar up, lean it against there, the trap is set. To reduce the fear in them, and it helps amazingly, I cover them, just like this, and they don't feel as frightened. So what they do is they go in, and when they go to the back of the trap to get the tuna, they step onto this trip plate, and the door just closes. and then you get them. And in the morning we come and we look in there, we check to see if it's the cat we're wanting to get, the target cat, or if we're starting a new colony. We always check to see if it's already tip-eared. If it is tip-eared, we let it out. If it's the cat we want, we load it in, and it goes to get fixed.